Welcome to Dimensional Shift, where we explore and actively deprogram ourselves, seek the truth of reality through expanding our perceptions, and focus on full remembrance of our true selves. As we begin to connect to our true selves, we will also see the truth of this illusory reality and the way it controls us through our manipulated perceptions. As soon as we fully remember our true selves, we will also see the enemy for what it is and how to rebalance the system by freeing ourselves and assisting others to do the same, creating a domino effect into the evolution of human consciousness. I recently fell down the Mandela effect hole and spent hours researching common and well-known Mandela effects that people have spotted up to this point. Some examples include, do the Smurfs have tails or not? Have they always had tails? In this reality, they do. Does KitKat have a dash? In this reality, it does not. And one of the most highly contested one is, how do you spell Berenstain bears? Does it end A-I-N? Or EIN. A lot of people, this was the first one they discovered when they began researching Mandela effects. Most of you are probably familiar with the Mandela effect, but I will give a brief synopsis of what happened with Mandela and explain how this got to be the name. Nelson Mandela was a South African activist who later became president of South Africa. Many of us have memory of him dying in prison in the 1980s, but in this reality, he died of respiratory infection in 2013. Many of us were very confused when we heard of his death. This is an example of how reality shifted and what we believed to have happened actually had not happened or changed. Mandela effects become common because it's something that many people experience wide scale, but that doesn't mean that's necessarily how it works. I have several instances in my life where I've had my own personal Mandela effect. I was working at a school a couple of years ago. I swiped my badge to clock in, and someone came out of the door next to the time clock. They nearly knocked me over. There had never been a door in that spot before, and so it took me a few days to try and figure out what had changed in my reality to cause this Mandela effect in my own life. So besides being weird and confusing, what exactly is a Mandela effect? If you think of each reality existing at the same time, and in each reality anywhere from one to everything is different, then you can think about how if you switch realities, everything could be the same except for the fact that KitKat is spelled different. Or everything can be the same except that Pizza Hut has 2 T's instead of 1. It becomes a Mandela effect when a large group of people notice the same difference, or when a large group of people make the same shift and have the same difference come up. When they recognize it and point it out to each other, and then everybody goes, oh my gosh, what's happening? That's a Mandela effect. In our next episode, I'm going to be going into the quantum matrix and how our consciousness, energy, and matter all interact to create the reality or the matrix or the simulation that we live in. And when we change something in our own matrix, kind of like in the movie, they have the deja vu and something's changed. When we have our own matrix modified, we have a Mandela effect. We have 4, let's say, segments of reality. We have the past, the present, the future, and of course, our parallel lives. Each of these has a corresponding tell in our current life that we can sense that will tell us when we have shifted one of those realities or the connection between those realities. I like to think of it this way. When you have a Mandela effect, that means you have somehow changed the past. You've changed the trajectory that you remember because you've shifted into a separate reality where the lineup of events is changed. There's an incongruency in your consciousness. It remembers one thing, but something else has happened. Synchronicities, on the other hand, are the alignment of realities where the expected events are occurring. And so if you think about it, we think of these as signs from the universe that we're on the right path. These signs show that the reality that our consciousness is expecting is happening. It's unfolding. We're making the right choices. And deja vu is essentially where our parallel realities converge with our consciousness in this reality. It's a very strange feeling where we get that we're living in two places at once, or we've already been here and seen this. And that means that we actually have, it's happening the same way in another reality. Future realities is a little harder to say for each person what they experience, the quote synchronicity for future realities, but oftentimes it's some kind of premonition, bad feeling, intuition, gut feeling, etc. Anytime you get the sense that you know something or feel something or have some kind of psychic awareness of something that's going to happen, that's the quote reality check that you need to have for that moment so you can make sure that you're prepared and aligned for what's coming. You can think of it as you're gaining knowledge from the future because you're aligning with it in the present. The best part is we can use all of these, quote, reality checks to our advantage to make sure we're on the right path, making the right decisions, shifting into the reality we want to see for us, and creating the mission that we want for the world. Mandela effects can be fun to research and explore and figure out which of them resonate with you and which don't, but it's important to remember that the Mandela effect is just the shiny exterior of something else going on underneath the hood. Mandela effects are the outward appearance or the key that we see, the synchronicity that we see to show us that something's happening within our reality. And so taking time to really discover what the shift was that you made can be really helpful in helping you move forward in your personal growth and your spiritual growth and learning from that so that you can continue to make quantum leaps and consciously creating the reality that you want here. The ability to code our own matrix and create our own reality and be able to shift between them at will is a galactic ability we have all come here with. Unlocking that ability has been the most difficult part of being human, I think, for me, because it's something I've always known that I should be able to do, but have not always been able to do. So I'm hoping that as we learn about the quantum matrix together, and we talk about it and learn from each other, that we will be able to start shifting our own realities into what we want them to be, and then collectively start shifting the whole reality. We can also see how conflict can arise from having different realities existing in one big place like this. This goes right back into what we talked about in episode 3 with relative reality, self-centric reality, and how we all view things from our own perspective. And we can never truly say that my reality is the same as your reality or different than your reality, and we can never invalidate or validate our own or someone else's experience. I know many, if not all of you, are sensitives like me, and at some point you've probably been victimized by some narcissist or egocentric person who has tried to invalidate you and your experience. And if you do this to another person because they say, no, I grew up with the Berenstain Bears spelled A-I-N, and you say, no, you're wrong, it's always been E-I-N, that's the same thing as gaslighting. And so when we're working with relative realities like this, we have to be very aware not to invalidate someone else's experience just because it's not our own. And again, if someone is trying to invalidate your experiences or gaslight you, making sure you set up good boundaries with them and validating yourself so that you don't have your core being invalidated. Next week, we'll be talking about the quantum matrix and discussing how we can start using that to create our own timeline shifts and changing our own reality for the better. If you want early access to that, you can find it on my Patreon. The link to that is in the show notes, and it's also on my website. If you found this episode helpful or insightful, please share it with a friend and leave a review or comment. Make sure to subscribe so you never miss an episode. I host twice weekly open discussions on the podcast topic on our Discord server. If you'd like to join, head to dimensionalshifter.com/Discord. If you're on Reddit, come join the subreddit r/dimensionalshifters or send me a DM. My username is dimensionalshifter. Keep deprogramming, keep connecting, keep listening to your intuition. This is it. This is what we've been searching for our whole lives. Connection to our true selves.